The very first thing I did after being reborn was to tear up the marriage application Luis was about to submit. In my previous life, I had clung to him with blind devotion, determined to marry him, only to discover moments before my death that he had been secretly involved with Gloria for 40 years. This time, now that I know the truth, I refuse to be that foolish again. I will step away on my own terms and let Luis be with the woman he truly desires, Gloria. If he wants to take care of her, I won't stop him. If he wants to give her half his salary, so be it. But I never imagined Gloria's greed would extend so far she even dared to set her sights on my university acceptance letter. Over my dead body. I flatly rejected her outrageous demand. And the very next day, after I stood my ground and clashed with both her and Luis, the two of them were caught red-handed together in bed. In my past life, I never realized how deeply dissatisfied Luis was with me as his fiancé. Naively, I held on to the engagement that had been arranged since childhood, marrying him with hope and fantasy in my heart. Luis had a demanding job, and his parents were in poor health. To help him focus on his career, I gave up my opportunity to attend university and dedicated my life to caring for his aging parents and raising our children. Throughout our 40-year marriage, we spent more time apart than together. The days we actually lived under the same roof didn't even add up to 2 full years. I struggled alone, juggling his family and our kids, while constantly hoping he would transfer to my city to support me. But he never did. Not even once. Not until the very end. I had always thought he had no choice, that he was just caught up in obligations. But on my deathbed, I finally understood wasn't bound by duty. He simply didn't love me. He didn't want me as his wife. He wanted to stay far away so he could be close to the woman he truly loved, Gloria. Behind my back, he arranged a job for her, pampered her, and showered her with affection. He went south for her. He went north for her. Every move he made was for her. His heart had never once belonged to me. Luis and Gloria shared a deep, unwavering love. Their connection was passionate and enduring. And me? I was nothing more than a pathetic joke used, laughed at, and thrown aside. Only in the final moments of my life did I see the truth. This time, I reached into the bottom of my box and pulled out my university acceptance letter, clutching it tightly to my chest as tears streamed down my cheeks. It was all still possible. I hadn't missed my chance. In my previous life, I threw it all away for the illusion of love. I gave up my future to stay by Luis's side, to be a devoted wife, sacrificing everything for his family. But not this time. This time, I will go to university. I will build a future for myself. And Luis? Let him be with Gloria. Let them play out whatever tragic love story they want. I walked out of my room, newly determined, and saw Luis sitting in the living room. The marriage application he had prepared but not yet submitted lay on the table in front of him. He stared at it with a deep frown, so cold and distant that he didn't even acknowledge me entering the room. In my past life, I thought he was just naturally indifferent. I never realized he simply didn't want to see me. It wasn't until after death, when I saw photos of him and Gloria together, beaming with joy, that I understood wasn't incapable of smiling. He just never smiled at me. Luis stared at that paper as if it were a burden. I knew he didn't want to submit it, but our parents had arranged everything. He was the kind of obedient son who wouldn't dare disobey. To my parents, marrying Luis was considered marrying up. They were eager to see me wed a military officer and boost our family status. But I couldn't let history repeat itself. I had to stop that application from being filed. I approached him, picked up the paper, and said, "Let me submit it for you." Before he could respond, I walked away with the document in hand. I found a quiet alley, tore the marriage application into tiny pieces, and threw them into a nearby storm drain. As the water carried away the shredded remnants, I exhaled, feeling a weight lifted from my heart. For now, I had freed myself from that future. My next step was preparing for university. Though my parents still dreamed of me marrying Luis as soon as possible, I had already made my choice. This time, I was choosing me. Did I end my previous life? When my family found out I'd been accepted to university, they did everything they could to convince me not to go. They constantly preached about the advantages of marrying Luis instead. And I was so deeply in love with him that I gave in without a fight. I spent my entire life sacrificing for Luis, only to end up with nothing but endless regret. But this time, I won't listen to my parents. I won't repeat the same mistake. I went to gather all the necessary documents and tuition details for university before returning to Luis's house. As I approached the courtyard, I noticed a car parked there. A young woman stepped out, lugging large bags, walking beside Luis. Just like in my past life, nothing had changed. Gloria was once again being brought into Luis's home under the same convenient excuse. The reason? That her brother had died saving Luis, and Luis believed he owed her his life. So, he claimed it was only right to take care of her. Had Gloria not taken the initiative to reveal their true relationship, I might have remained blissfully unaware until the very end. I stood motionless, watching coldly as Luis helped Gloria carry her luggage into the room he had clearly prepared for her. Sensing my gaze, Luis turned and said, "You're back." I answered with a faint murmur. Just like before, he introduced her to me, saying, "This is Gloria, the younger sister of my comrade. She'll be staying here until university starts." Until university starts? My heart skipped a beat. A chilling thought flashed through my mind. Wasn't the university Gloria was supposedly going to the same one listed in my acceptance letter, University A? In my past life, I never gave it much thought. Gloria had moved into the house before Luis and I got married, and shortly afterward, she'd enrolled at University A. But earlier today, when I was checking university admission details, I carefully reviewed the accepted student list. There were only 3 spots. One was mine, and the other 2 belonged to 2 boys I didn't recognize. Gloria's name was nowhere to be found. So how did she get into University A? Back then, the university entrance exam system had only recently been reinstated, and seats were extremely limited, but they could be reassigned. A terrifying realization struck me. Could it be that my decision to give up university for marriage allowed Gloria to take my spot? If that were true, was Luis involved? Could he have knowingly married me, knowing I would give up my place, just so his precious Gloria, who wasn't even qualified, could go instead? I didn't want to believe Luis was that cruel. But then I remembered Gloria's smug words at my deathbed. "You monopolized Luis for over 40 years. Now it's my turn to enjoy growing old with him." She, the shameless mistress who had hidden in the shadows for decades, wore her disgrace like a crown. How could I not suspect Luis? Watching how Gloria clung to him without even trying to hide it, I sneered silently. I said indifferently, "Carry on. I'll go make dinner." I had barely taken a few steps when Gloria's sickly sweet and pitiful voice came from behind. "Luis, is my sudden arrival bothering you and Elena?" I feel like Elena isn't very happy to see me. Her fake, gentle tone made me curl my lips in disgust. My loathing for Gloria reached a new high. I didn't bother turning around, but Luis's voice rang out loud and clear. "Don't worry. I promised your brother I'd take good care of you, and I intend to keep that promise. As long as I'm here, no one will mistreat you."
Ha!
He was quick to defend her. In my past life, was I truly that blind and deaf? Luis and Gloria came back 2 hours later. By then, dinner was ready. Gloria, pretending to be a helpful guest, stepped into the kitchen offering to help set the table. She even insisted on serving the rice, but she only filled 2 bowls, one for herself and one for Luis. Her actions were as obvious as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Anyone could see through her little act. I pretended not to notice, took a bowl, served myself, and started eating with enthusiasm. Luis and Gloria joined me at the table, but the moment they saw the food, both froze. There were 4 dishes: spicy tofu, spicy potatoes, spicy pork ribs, and the only soup, green bean soup, was also filled with flaming red chilies. Luis and Gloria both hated spicy food. Their eyes darted across the dishes, and finally, Luis looked at me. I ignored him, keeping my head down and eating heartily. In my past life, I had bent over backwards to please Luis's tastes, always cooking bland, mild meals for him. But after being reborn, I had no intention of sacrificing myself anymore. I ate the spicy, flavorful dishes with joy, not sparing either of them a glance. Luis's expression darkened. Meanwhile, Gloria's eyes welled up with tears as she looked at him like a wounded saint. Finally, Luis couldn't hold it in anymore. He stood up and said, "Gloria can't eat spicy food. Next time, don't put chilies in the food. I'll take her out to eat today." Without even glancing at them, I continued eating, completely indifferent to their departure. Once the two people I despised were gone, I kept eating until I was full and satisfied. After finishing my meal, I cleaned the dishes and went out for a walk to help digest. When I returned, Luis and Gloria still weren't back. I went straight to my room, closed the door, and opened my suitcase. I pulled out the ration coupons and money we had prepared for the wedding and began calculating my finances. This small fund was meant for our marriage. Part of it came from my parents' savings they had worked so hard to put together for my dowry. The rest was the engagement gift from Luis's family. But now that I was preparing to go to university, I needed that money for travel, food, and daily expenses. There was no way I would let Luis have a single coin. In my past life, all of it was put into a shared household fund once we got married. And in the end, it was used on Gloria's education. But this time, I would not be that foolish again. The money and the ration coupons would stay with me. I wouldn't let anyone else take advantage of Menet again. After carefully tucking away the money, coupons, and my university acceptance letter, I pulled out all the wedding items from my suitcase. The bright red bed sheets, the duvet covers, the pillowcases were no longer needed. Since I wasn't getting married, these things had to go. Sandra, who lived nearby, had always been kind to me. Her daughter was getting married this month, so I decided to gift her everything. When Sandra saw me show up with a bundle, she was surprised and asked me a few questions. I brushed them off with vague excuses. When I returned home, Luis still wasn't back. I washed up, went to my room, and marked a big red X on the wall calendar. How wonderful, only 20 more days until I'd leave this place behind and start a new life at university. That night, I slept deeply. I had no idea what time Luis returned. The next morning, I made myself a bowl of noodles. While I was eating, Luis finally opened his bedroom door. When he saw me sitting there, calmly eating alone without even looking at him, a flicker of surprise crossed his face. I couldn't blame him. After all, in my past life, I'd been madly in love with him. I used to prepare everything with such meticulous care. Because he disliked spicy food, I never cooked anything with chilies. Because of his sensitive stomach, I would get up early every morning to make him millet porridge to help with digestion. I used to walk him to the gate every day and wait by the door every evening to greet him when he returned. In my eyes, Luis was a tall, powerful emperor, and I was just a humble servant, tending to his every need. Now that the servant had stopped worshipping her emperor, it was no wonder he felt unsettled. Seeing that I had no intention of speaking to him, Luis had no choice but to approach me. "Gloria doesn't know the area well," he said. "Last night I took her out for dinner and showed her around before we came back." Luis explaining himself to me? That was new. I kept eating my noodles and replied flatly, "It's fine. It's your duty to look after her. You don't need to explain it to me." He went silent for a moment, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. After all, I had once been hopelessly in love with him. Luis was undeniably handsome, and many women admired him. Back then, I had watched him like a hawk, getting upset if he so much as spoke too kindly to another woman. My total indifference to his current closeness with Gloria must have seemed bizarre to him now. He stared at me for a while before continuing, "Gloria's brother died because of me. From now on, she's like a younger sister to me. I've decided to give her half of my salary and ration coupons every month." In my past life, after marrying Luis, I stayed home and cared for his ailing parents. Out of his 40 yuan monthly salary, he gave me only 10. I worked tirelessly, waking early, going to bed late, even picking up odd jobs just to make ends meet. Meanwhile, he handed half his income over to Gloria. How touching his unwavering devotion. He didn't care about his own parents, his wife, or even his children. His heart was entirely devoted to his beloved Gloria. I clenched my teeth. I wanted so badly to slap that handsome face of his. But I held back. Take care of her as much as you want. I don't mind. If Luis wanted to give her half even a off his income and ration coupons, what did it have to do with me? I wasn't marrying him, and I certainly wouldn't be wasting my life taking care of his parents. I was honestly curious how he planned to manage when all his money went to Gloria. How would he buy food and medicine for his sick parents then? I finished my noodles quickly, cleared everything away, and went back to my room. Yesterday, I had only gotten rid of the wedding sheets, pillowcases, and blankets. There was still more to leave behind. Today, I planned to clean out the rest of my room. The books I had used to prepare for the college entrance exam were no longer needed, so I decided to sell them. Anything I had once prepared for Luis would either be gifted away or thrown out. I closed the door and quietly got to work, packing everything in silence. I didn't even notice when Luis left. I sold the books as scrap paper, then took the handmade leather-soled shoes I had crafted for Luis and sold those too. Whatever couldn't be sold, I packed up and tossed into the trash. I cut the red wedding decorations into pieces and threw them out as well. When everything was finally done, I picked up my pen and marked another red X on the calendar. 19 days left until I left for university. It was time to start preparing. I headed to the supply co-op, not expecting to run into Luis and Gloria there. The two of them looked like a picture-perfect couple, shopping side by side. Luis was being especially attentive, even helping Gloria choose thermal underwear. With a sweet, coquettish smile, Gloria said, "Luis, that's enough. You don't need to buy so much." "I heard the place you'll be studying is cold," he replied warmly. "It's better to be prepared with extra clothes." They talked to each other so tenderly, so intimately, it was as if the world around them didn't exist. Gloria was the first to notice me. With a smug expression, she said, "Elena, are you here shopping too?" At the sound of her voice, Luis finally saw me. My expression calm, with a faint, mocking smile seemed to unsettle him. "Gloria's leaving for university soon, so I'm helping her get what she needs," he said awkwardly. As he spoke, his eyes drifted toward the pen, ink, and paper I was holding. "I already bought those for Gloria," he added. "You don't need to get them again." Where did he get the audacity to assume I was doing anything for Gloria? I ignored him, paid for my things, and turned to leave. Luis followed me outside, calling my name twice. I didn't stop. I didn't even look back. I just quickened my pace. Behind me, I heard Gloria's voice, soft and pitiful. "Luis, I don't think Elena likes me very much." I continued shopping for a few more essentials before heading home. When I opened the door, I was surprised to find Luis had prepared dinner. Now that was unexpected. It was as if the sun had risen in the west. When he saw me enter, he invited me to eat. I glanced at the simple dishes on the table and shook my head. "I already ate out," I said coldly. His expression froze, but I didn't care. I walked straight into my room. A few minutes later, someone knocked on the door. I opened it. "What do you want?"
"We need to talk," Luis said.
"About what?" I asked, my tone icy. "Elena, are you upset about Gloria?" "I'm just taking care of her because of her brother. That's your problem." I cut him off sharply. "It has nothing to do with me, so stop repeating it." Luis looked stunned by my irritation. He lowered his voice. "Elena, we're about to get married. We're family. What's mine is yours."
Huh.
He still thought I was the same foolish girl from my past life. My patience had worn thin. I couldn't stand watching him put on this fake act anymore. "Luis," I interrupted, "have you ever stopped to think about us? I think we need to seriously reconsider this marriage." I had planned to end this engagement once and for all, but before I could finish, someone knocked at the door again. Gloria's tearful voice came from outside. "Luis," I twisted my ankle. "It hurts so much." Luis rushed off with his damsel in distress and didn't come back. Naturally, I didn't wait for him. I washed up, closed my door, and went to sleep. That night, I slept deeply and woke up feeling refreshed. The first thing I did was mark another X on the calendar. Then, in good spirits, I got ready for the day. When I came out, I saw Luis had returned with breakfast in hand, steamed buns, soy milk, and fried churros. When he saw me, he smiled that rare, awkward smile. "You're up." I nodded, took the breakfast without a word, and sat down to eat.
He sat beside me.
Last night, after Gloria twisted her ankle, she developed a fever. I stayed at the hospital with her all night. I was worried. "That's your responsibility," I replied flatly. In the past, I always greeted him with warmth and affection. Never like this. Luis seemed unsure how to deal with my indifference. "Elena, are you mad at me?" "No, really?"
"Really?"
"Why would I be angry?" I said calmly. In just over 10 days, we'll go our separate ways. Upon hearing that I wasn't angry, his smile grew wider. Yesterday I saw you bought pens, ink, and paper. Was it for Gloria? If so, why don't we go give it to her together? I looked up at him and said slowly, word by word, Luis, Gloria already has your care and that's more than enough. She doesn't need me. The things I bought are for myself. They have nothing to do with her or with you. His expression darkened at my directness, but I didn't bother caring. I stood up and said, I've got things to do. I'll be out for a bit. I went to the train station to inquire about tickets. Since University A was in a cold region, I bought 2 sets of thermal underwear and some toiletries before heading home. To my surprise, when I returned, Luis was there, waiting. When he saw me carrying shopping bags, Luis even reached out to help, but I sidestepped him and carried everything into my room on my own. He followed me inside. Your room looks emptier now, he remarked. I threw out everything I don't need. Seeing my cold attitude, he fell silent for a moment before saying, The wedding is in a few days. Tomorrow I'll go shopping with you. Luis offering to shop with me? That was almost laughable. As if the sun had risen in the west. I refused flatly. There's no need. My complete indifference made him rub his hands awkwardly. After a long pause, he finally forced out another sentence. There's something else I want to talk about. It's about your university enrollment. I stopped unpacking and looked at him in silence. Luis hesitated before continuing. Here's what I think: after we get married, you won't have time for college. Since you won't be able to go, why not voluntarily give up your spot to someone who needs it more? For a moment, my mind went completely blank. Until now, I had only suspected that Gloria got into university because I gave up my seat. But hearing Luis say that, I was now almost certain. Those 2 shameless people, how dare they? Fueled by rage, I shot to my feet and glared at him. And just who do you want me to give my spot to? I asked, enunciating each word slowly and sharply. Luis flinched at my reaction. What's wrong? I just thought we could talk about it. Talk. I laughed bitterly. In my past life, I had given him everything. I treated him like a god. And yet, he never even talked to me about it, just made the decision himself. But now that I no longer had feelings for him, he had no choice but to actually bring it up like a conversation. Luis. Oh, Luis, don't you see how pathetic you've become? How shameless. I looked him dead in the eye and said firmly, I'm not giving up my spot at university. If someone wants to go, let them earn it. No one is taking advantage of me ever again. Luis hadn't expected such a strong reaction. He stammered, I just thought since we're getting married you wouldn't have time. Then let's not get married. I shouted, barely holding back my fury. His face darkened instantly, and he glared at me. Don't push it, Elena. You're the one who wanted to get married. Now you're saying you don't? What do you take me for? Is marriage some kind of game to you? I laughed coldly. What did he expect? If he had an ounce of decency, he wouldn't have treated me the way he did in our last life. But this wasn't the time to completely cut ties with him. Swallowing my anger, I quickly packed a small bag. I have something to do. I'm going home for a few days. Luis followed me a few steps. Why are you suddenly going home? I miss my parents, I said bluntly, hurrying down the stairs without looking back. I planned to stay home for a while and only return when it was time to start university. My parents were overjoyed to see me, especially my mother, who immediately pulled me aside to ask a barrage of questions, most of them about Luis. I gave vague, non-committal answers. But knowing I needed to prepare her for the truth that I wasn't going to marry him, I casually mentioned Gloria on the 7th day of my stay. My mother's reaction was immediate. A single woman living with him? That's not right. You should go back and keep an eye on him. Luis is a good catch. If someone steals him away, then what? Then I'll leave him and find someone better. I replied indifferently. Don't talk like that. Where will you find another man like Luis? Handsome, stable job. To my mother, Luis was a treasure. She didn't want me staying home any longer. She practically kicked me out, insisting I return and watch over him. And just like that, I was forced to leave. With nowhere else to go, I had no choice but to return to Luis's house. But the moment I opened the door, I heard sounds coming from my room. I froze. A thief in broad daylight? I rushed to my room in just a few steps, and what I saw made me gasp.
My room was a complete mess.
Everything had been pulled out and tossed around. Gloria hadn't noticed I was there yet. She was too busy digging through my drawers and boxes, even flipping through my bedding, mumbling to herself. How could it not be here? Where did she put it? My voice exploded. What the hell are you doing? Who gave you permission to touch my things? Gloria jumped, startled, but to my surprise, she quickly regained her composure. Do I need to tell you? Of course Luis asked me to do it. Luis had actually allowed Gloria to move into the house while I was gone. The two of them had no shame. My eyes burned with fury. Gloria, do you have even a shred of decency left? Get out of my room.
Now.
But Gloria had the arrogance of someone who thought she was untouchable. She crossed her arms and smiled smugly. Are you mad? Fine, I'll be honest with you. While you were away, Luis and I have been living together. He's been so good to me. He makes me breakfast every morning, cooks me dinner, even takes me on walks. I'm telling you, Luis is incredibly sweet. I swallowed my rage and returned her arrogance with a chilling smile. So you like Luis? You want to marry him? For the first time, Gloria's smug expression cracked. My blunt words caught her completely off guard.
He stared at her coldly.
You do know he's engaged, don't you? Aren't you worried about what people will say, living with a man who's already promised to someone else? And why should I care? She sneered. Luis and I are a perfect match meant for each other.
But you?
Have you looked in the mirror? Do you really think you're worthy of Luis? She scoffed. That childhood engagement is nothing but outdated nonsense. Luis told me everything. If your parents hadn't forced him, he would have never agreed to marry you. I knew those were Luis's real thoughts, but hearing Gloria spit them out like weapons still made my blood boil. You said all that just to cover up one thing. You're jealous because I'm the one marrying Luis. I smiled with scorn. You say I don't deserve him, and maybe you're right. But are you really so sure you and Luis are some perfect couple? Look at yourself, Gloria.
No job.
No education. You and I are exactly the same. So tell me how it makes you any better? TSK.
That's what you think, she snapped.
I'm about to start university. Once I graduate, I'll be on the same level as Luis. And you'll be nothing. I narrowed my eyes. Oh, really? You're going to university? Which one? I stepped closer, my voice turning icy. Where's your acceptance letter, Gloria? Why don't you show it to me? For a moment, she was speechless. She stammered. Why should I show you? I'm not like you. I will go to university. One day you'll see. Her expression was panicked. She tried to act calm, but her trembling eyes betrayed her. She was definitely hiding something. But what in my room could possibly be worth risking so much for? I looked around at the disaster she'd left behind, then back at her arrogant face. The whole scene made me sick. How could someone be so shameless? It was beyond comprehension. I glared at her and snapped. Get out. Get out of my room. Now. And if I don't, she challenged, crossing her arms. What are you going to do? Luis told me to move in. He said he wanted to take care of me himself. Oh, and he also said he's sick of you. That just seeing your face makes him want to vomit. Her words overlapped with the ones she had once said in my past life when she was older, but just as vile. Some people never change. Not in this life, not in the last. I let out a cold laugh. Luis said that? You two really are soulmates, aren't you? Of course, she said smugly. Luis doesn't love you. He's only marrying you because he's being forced. If you had any dignity, you'd bow out gracefully and stop making things difficult for him. And who do you think you are to tell me to back off? On what authority? I shot back. If there's anyone shameless in this house, it's you. At least I am Luis's legitimate fiancé. You? What are you? I stared her down, pronouncing every word clearly. Gloria, I know exactly what you're trying to do. You waited until I was gone, then swooped in to throw yourself at Luis. It's written all over your face. Do you really think no one can see through you? Let me tell you something. A woman as shameless as you will never get what she wants. Not this time. My words made Gloria's face flush with fury. In a blind rage, she lunged at me, trying to slap me. But there was no way I'd let her touch me. I sidestepped, and with a loud smack, she crashed to the floor. I barely had a second to enjoy the sight of her humiliating fall before she suddenly burst into tears.
What?
You hurt me. I'm in so much pain. It hurts everywhere. Her performance was so exaggerated it left me stunned for a moment. Before I could even react, Luis appeared with a thunderous expression. Right in front of me, Gloria turned to him and began to cry. The moment she walked in, she started yelling at me. She called me shameless, said I was trying to seduce you. And when I tried to defend myself, she hit me. Look at my bruises. She broke down sobbing, playing the perfect victim. Luis didn't even hesitate. Without a shred of doubt, he believed her. His face twisted in fury, veins bulging on his forehead, and he spun toward me, shouting, "Elena! How could you be so cruel?" Gloria, still whimpering, clung to Luis. He picked her up protectively and carried her away, leaving me there, standing in disbelief. The room fell silent again, filled only with the mess Gloria had left behind. My emotions churned uncontrollably. I had always thought Gloria got into university because I gave up my spot to marry Luis. But if that were true, why was she tearing apart my room? Other than my university acceptance letter and a few bills and ration coupons, there was nothing valuable in there. And she wasn't after money. Luis was already giving her half his salary. Could it be she was searching for my acceptance letter? But for what?
What did she want with it?
A chilling thought struck me I had never considered before. What if Gloria didn't go to university because I gave up my seat, but because she used my identity to take it? That would explain why my letter mysteriously vanished from my suitcase in my past life. At the time, I had already decided not to go, so I didn't think much of it. But now the truth might be far uglier than I ever imagined. But looking back now, had Gloria really taken my university acceptance letter and used it to steal my place? In my past life, the college admission process wasn't as strict as it is today. If Gloria had forged my identity, it wasn't entirely impossible. I also remembered how, no matter where Gloria worked, Luis always followed her. Was it possible that in my past life, they had been living together like husband and wife all along? I had been trapped inside that house, clueless, never uncovering the truth, at least, not until it was far too late. But this time, I wouldn't let it happen again. That night, Luis returned late and knocked on my door. "Elena, we need to talk." I opened the door, my voice cold and sharp. "Talk about what?" "Gloria?" Let me make this clear, I didn't hit her. She was rummaging through my things without permission. I told her to leave. She attacked me, and when she lost her balance, she fell on her own. I wasn't about to stay quiet and let Gloria's lies frame me. Nor would I let Luis interrogate me like I was guilty. I said what needed to be said.
Whether he believed me or not, that was up to him.
To my surprise, Luis didn't try to defend Gloria. "There's nothing going on between Gloria and me," he said with a sigh. He reached out to take my hand, but I pulled away, avoiding his touch. He looked startled. After all, I had always chased after him so shamelessly in the past. Even when he didn't approach me, I would throw myself at him. Rejecting him now must have been unthinkable to him. My clear attitude left him silent. His face showed a hint of pain. "Elena, there's really nothing between us. I see Gloria as a little sister, that's all. You're reading too much into this." I let out a cold laugh. If I hadn't lived through my past life, maybe I would have believed him. But now, not a single word out of his mouth sounded real to me. "Elena, believe it or not," he continued, "you're the only one I want to marry. I just feel responsible for taking care of Gloria. But she won't be here for long. She's leaving for university soon. So could you, just for my sake, get along with her a little while longer?" I couldn't shake the doubts in my mind. Had Gloria actually taken my place at university? Or had she just used my acceptance letter and pretended to be me? And how much did Luis really know about it? Because even if Gloria had the letter, she'd still need official documents to complete the impersonation. She couldn't have done that alone. But if Luis had helped her, that changed everything. I stared straight into his eyes and asked calmly, "What university is Gloria attending?" "She said she got into university, eh?" Luis replied. "So it really was my university." I pressed further. "Have you seen her acceptance letter?" "No," he admitted. "But Gloria's a good student. It wouldn't be surprising if she got in. His expression was genuine calm, without hesitation or guilt. But that didn't mean much. He had lied to me with the same convincing calmness in my past life. I needed to find out the truth about Gloria's university status. And the simplest way was to ask. There were plenty of people from Gloria's hometown living nearby. I'd track someone down tomorrow and get answers. The next morning, I woke to the sound of knocking. When I opened the door, Luis was standing there. I made breakfast.
"Come eat," he said.
I nodded coolly and walked past him to wash up, keeping my distance. Luis followed behind, clearly desperate to find a reason to talk. "What are the marks on your calendar for?" "Nothing," I answered flatly. Luis stared at me, clearly baffled by my coldness. I ignored him and sat at the table to eat, treating him like he didn't exist. He sat too, watching me the whole time, clearly wanting to speak, but I had no intention of giving him the opportunity. Once I finished, I stood abruptly. "I have something to do. I'm leaving." "I'll come with you," he offered suddenly, catching me off guard. But I cut him off immediately. "Why don't you check on Gloria? See if she's eaten. See if she needs anything. After all, you did promise her brother you'd take care of her. If anything happens to her, how would you explain it?" Without waiting for a reply, I walked off quickly, never once glancing back. I went looking for someone from the military post who was from Gloria's hometown, someone who could tell me about her family. Her brother was a martyr, so many people knew of them. It didn't take long to get the information I needed. The woman I found was a military wife and close to Sandra. "I know her family well," she told me. "Their son was an outstanding man. Everyone praises him. But Gloria and her mother, well, that's another story entirely." She went on to say that both Gloria and her mother had terrible reputations. Gloria didn't even finish high school before she started going astray. A girl like that going to university? That's a joke. "Are you sure?" I pressed. "Of course I'm sure," she said firmly. "Gloria was in the same class as my youngest son. Her grades were terrible. She barely passed her classes. She dropped out of secondary school, never even finished. And during the university entrance exam period, she had a bike accident and was stuck at home recovering. How could she possibly have taken the exams? And I wasn't the only one who knew this. Several military wives knew it too. If Gloria hadn't even finished high school, there was no way she could qualify for the college entrance exams. And if she never sat for them, how could she have been admitted into any university? The answer was now crystal clear in my mind. Gloria's admission to university was a complete lie. I returned home in a foul mood, only to find Luis and Gloria there. Her eyes were red and swollen clearly. She'd been crying. I said nothing. I walked past them both and went straight into my room. Minutes later, Luis knocked on my door. When I opened it, he looked at me and asked, "Did you submit the marriage application?" I hadn't expected him to bring that up, so I responded instinctively. "Yes, of course I did." Luis stared at me carefully. "It's been quite a while since you turned it in. Why hasn't there been any response yet? It should have been approved by now." My heart skipped a beat, but I quickly replied, "I'll go ask about it." Luis didn't seem convinced. "Let's go together," he said. "We can check on it and pick up some things for the wedding." I couldn't find a good excuse to refuse. If we went, the truth would come out. The application never existed. I needed a plan to stall him. While I was thinking, Luis added, "I just talked to Gloria. I'm planning to send her back home in a few days." I looked at him, surprised.
"Why?"
"I've thought it over," Luis said seriously. "I understand that you're upset and suspicious. And honestly, it's not appropriate for me to be caring for a young, unmarried woman like Gloria." For a moment, I thought he had finally come to his senses. But then his next words froze me to the core. "Elena, there's something I need to tell you. Gloria wants to go to university, but she didn't pass the exams. She's hoping to use your place." I stared at him in stunned silence as he weighed each word carefully. "I thought since we're getting married, you wouldn't need to go to university anymore. Plus, I owe her brother a debt. This would be a way to repay it. It would also prevent further misunderstandings between us." My hands clenched tightly. I was barely holding back the urge to slap him across the face. "And how exactly do you plan to do that?" I asked coldly. "From what I know, Gloria has awful grades. She doesn't even meet the minimum requirements to apply." Luis hesitated before answering. Gloria's idea is to use your name to attend university. Even though I had already suspected it, hearing it directly from Luis still knocked the breath out of me. I looked him dead in the eye and asked, each word sharp as a blade. She wants to use my name? Pretend to be me? Do you know that's illegal? Luis faltered under my stare. After a moment of silence, he mumbled, if you don't say anything, and I don't say anything, and Gloria stays quiet, no one will ever know. And if someone finds out? I snapped. There are no secrets in this world. Besides, you're a soldier. If you participate in a fraud like this, what will people think of you? How do you plan to keep your position? My words left Luis speechless. I had hoped that, given his rank and reputation, he would realize the seriousness of what he was suggesting. But I had overestimated him. Love, it seemed, could drown out reason. Luis must have loved Gloria deeply so much that he was willing to risk everything for her. After a long silence, he finally spoke again. Elena, this will stay between the three of us. As long as no one says anything, nothing will happen. I was stunned. I had never imagined Luis could be this shameless, this willing to toss away his morals for Gloria. Furious, I shouted, I do not agree with this. Absolutely not. Why should I pay the price for a debt you owe? I will never give my spot to Gloria. Not to her, not to anyone. Our conversation ended bitterly. I felt like I was choking on rage, unable to believe the sheer nerve of Luis and Gloria. In my past life, they had conspired behind my back. I had known nothing, only learning the truth when it was already too late. But now, seeing I was more alert and aware, they actually dared to confront me directly, expecting me to willingly become their puppet again. If they thought I'd agree, they were dreaming. I couldn't stand spending another minute under the same roof as Luis. One way or another, it was time to end this. I would not marry him. The wedding was off. Whatever relationship he wanted to have with Gloria was his business. I wouldn't waste another breath on them. I gathered my things, ready to leave. That's when Gloria showed up. Elena, she said smugly as she walked in, Luis asked me to come and get your university acceptance letter. I let out a cold laugh and stared her down. Why should I give it to you? Didn't Luis tell you? She said, looking down at me like a queen. He doesn't like you. He's only marrying you because he's being forced to. If you don't hand over your acceptance letter, don't even dream of marrying Luis. And who said I wanted to marry him? I snapped, my voice icy. If someone wants garbage like him, a man with no principles, they can have him. I certainly don't. I stared straight into her eyes and added, clearly and firmly, take the man if you want. But as for my university acceptance letter, keep dreaming. There's no way I'd ever hand it over to someone as shameless and despicable as you. Gloria's face flushed with rage. She raised a finger to point at me, ready to start a fight, but then suddenly shifted tactics. There's really nothing between Luis and me, she said, her tone deliberately softened. You can't accuse us like this. I don't care what's going on between the two of you, I shot back. You're both liars, cowards, and utterly disgusting. Honestly, you deserve each other. Do everyone else a favor and lock yourselves away somewhere. Stop ruining other people's lives. Just as I said that, Luis stormed in, his face dark with fury. Elena, what the hell are you doing? He growled through clenched teeth. Why haven't you submitted the marriage application? I hadn't expected him to still be hung up on that, but now that the question was out, I didn't bother holding back. Why didn't I submit it? You really have to ask. I spat. You want me to marry you just so I'll give up my university spot for Gloria? How can you be so shameless? Do you think you're some grand prize? Do you think you're worth sacrificing my future for? I glared at him. Let me make something very clear, Luis. I'm not marrying you. And as for my acceptance letter, didn't even dream of it. I'd rather die than give it to either of you. I thought Luis would explode with rage after hearing that, but to my surprise, he remained silent. It was Gloria who broke down, bursting into tears. But Luis, you promised you'd take care of me. You said you'd always protect me, she wailed in her usual pathetic tone. I looked at the pair with cold contempt. Whatever the two of you want to do from now on is none of my concern. I'm leaving. Luis, our engagement is over. Luis panicked and rushed to block my path. Elena, it's not what you think. Please, just listen, let me explain. Right in front of Gloria, he pleaded, I'm only helping her because of the promise I made to her brother. There's nothing romantic between us. You're the only one I want to marry. I laughed bitterly. Aren't you the same man who wanted me to hand over my acceptance letter so she could impersonate me? Luis, enough. I don't believe a single word you say. I stared him down. Let's make this simple. Be with Gloria all you want. I don't care. I just want out of this engagement. My resolve was clear, and the fear in Luis's eyes said everything. He turned on Gloria and shouted at her to leave, probably thinking it would change my mind. But I was done. I gathered my things and walked out, ignoring Luis's desperate protests. I found a small inn and rented a room. To my surprise, Luis followed me there and begged me through the door. I made a mistake, Elena. Please forgive me, he pleaded. I'll fix everything. I'll send Gloria away. But it didn't matter what he said. I stayed silent, unmoved. His promises meant nothing to me now. I had made my decision. I would break off this engagement no matter how complicated it became. What I didn't expect was what happened the very next morning. I was woken by frantic knocking on my door. It was Sandra, breathless with urgency. Elena! Something big has happened, she exclaimed. Gloria and your fiancé Luis were caught in bed together. Luis and Gloria were caught completely naked, tangled together in the same bed. It wasn't a minor incident, it exploded into gossip that swept through the entire compound. Apparently, Luis had somehow forced himself on Gloria the night before, and everything was exposed when a military wife knocked on the door and found them in the act. When Gloria woke up, she began crying hysterically, playing the perfect victim and demanding the matter be reported to the authorities. When I arrived at the scene, chaos was already unfolding. Gloria's eyes were swollen from crying, her face twisted in agony. Luis, on the other hand, looked utterly miserable, his face bitter with shame. It was almost laughable. He spotted me standing in the crowd, watching everything unfold. He opened his mouth like he wanted to speak, but with so many eyes on him, he couldn't say a word. A scandal like this wasn't taken lightly. It was considered a severe violation, grounds for disciplinary action or even expulsion. But luckily for Luis, since I had never submitted the marriage application, I wasn't legally his wife, or even his official fiancée. As long as I didn't raise a fuss as the wronged party, the issue wouldn't escalate further. The higher-ups stepped in and smoothed things over. The solution? Luis would marry Gloria. As long as they kept the incident quiet, the matter would be considered closed. On the day I left for university orientation, Luis somehow found out and showed up at the train station. I'm sorry, Elena, he cried, desperation etched across his face. I never meant to betray you. I already told her it was over. I even bought her a train ticket to send her away the next day. I don't know how this happened. He was practically pounding his chest with regret, but his words didn't move me. Not one bit. I should really thank both you and Gloria, I said coldly. If it weren't for her, I might never have escaped this engagement so easily. I truly owe the two of you. Without Gloria's interference, breaking the engagement would have been far more difficult. My parents had high hopes for Luis, seeing him as the ideal son-in-law. They never would have let him go without a fight. But thanks to the scandal with Gloria, I became the one who came out on top. I no longer had to battle their objections. In fact, I even gained their sympathy. Luis's face turned pale. Elena, the only person I've ever loved is you. I swear, I only want to be with you. But people always seem to value what they've already lost. Luis repeated over and over that I was the only one he ever loved. He even confessed that he knew I hadn't submitted the marriage application and planned to file it himself. He swore he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me. But I didn't want to spend mine with him. In my past life, I had suffered too much, worked too hard, and received nothing in return. If I had to live that life again, then what was the point of being reborn? I'd rather die than relive that misery. I didn't respond to Luis's apologies or his desperate pleas. Without looking back, I turned and stepped into the waiting room, leaving him behind for good. University life was full and fulfilling. This new path, so different from the one I had walked before, consumed me completely. I devoted myself to my studies, and in the blink of an eye, the years passed. After graduation, I was assigned a prestigious position in a government office. When I returned home to visit my parents, I unexpectedly ran into Luis and Gloria. Luis had not achieved the success he had in my previous life, where he had risen to a high-ranking position. In this life, he had left the military and returned home to become a farmer. Rumor had it that his marriage with Gloria was a complete disaster. She constantly stirred up trouble, throwing fits and making it impossible for Luis to focus on anything. She never trusted him. Anytime he spoke to another woman, she flew into a jealous rage, convinced he was cheating. Her endless drama eventually cost Luis his job. In my previous life, Luis had risen steadily without ever glancing back, without caring about his family, me, or even his children. But this time, because of Gloria, he ended up stuck at home with his aging parents. The endless farm work and Gloria's relentless chaos had aged him by at least a decade. We passed each other briefly at the train station. I looked at him sideways, then walked away without a word, never turning back. Later, my parents filled me in on how Luis and Gloria were doing. They argued constantly. Their home was a wars and amateur fights every 3 days, minor ones every 2. Gloria refused to work or help care for Luis's parents. She called them filthy and reacted with visible disgust whenever they were ill. During their arguments, she'd scream things like, "This isn't how it was supposed to be. My life wasn't like this before. Why did it turn out this way? It's because you're useless." She even claimed Luis had been a high official in a past life and that she had worked in a government office, never once getting her hands dirty. Everyone in town laughed at her, calling her delusional. A life like that only existed in fantasy, certainly not for someone like her. As I listened to my parents' stories, a thought began to take root. What if Gloria had also been reborn? What if, remembering how her life used to be, she believed marrying Luis would bring her the good life she thought she deserved? That would explain why she was so desperate, why she tried to steal my university letter and impersonate me. When she couldn't find the letter, she probably used Luis instead, thinking I'd be blinded by love and go along with anything he asked. But she didn't expect me to refuse. She didn't expect Luis to plan on sending her away. Maybe that's why she staged the entire scene, being caught in bed, sobbing like a victim just to secure her place by his side. The day I left my hometown for good, Luis stopped me at the edge of the village. "Elena," he said, desperation thick in his voice, "I had a dream about us. In my past life, we were husband and wife. We got married and had a son. And then?" I asked coldly, staring straight into his eyes. I failed you," he confessed, his voice shaking. "Gloria and I, there was never anything between us. She stole your university acceptance letter and used it to take your place. She even blackmailed me into helping her forge the documents. I lost my mind and went along with it. After that, I couldn't shake her. She clung to me like a ghost, refusing to let go. Every time I tried to resist, she threatened to expose everything. She blackmailed me for decades, Elena. I don't know how it all ended up like this." Luis gripped his hair in frustration, his regret spilling over. But I didn't stay to hear more. Without saying another word, I turned and walked away. The past was the past. I had already let it go. And letting go of others is sometimes the only way to truly free yourself. After all, people like Luis and Gloria were never worth remembering forever.